Okay, sorry about that, everybody. If you're still watching or if anybody's watching, I had to get some help from the Restream.io themselves. That's a service that I use for sending to multiple sources at once: YouTube and Facebook and Twitch and some other things. I'm not sure how many really work right now. Anyway, this is the first one of these things that I'm doing, and I guess this was a review of a video that's been making the rounds that everybody's been telling me to review for him to see if what she's saying is accurate. I'll hopefully be doing more of these things later, but I guess I'm just working out the technical issues and figuring that out for now. So I'm gonna finish this one out. I'm gonna keep going. I'm sorry if it's kind of not going to make sense all the way through. Maybe I'll stitch these together later, but I'm going to hit play and I'm just going to keep going here.
Because you're going to need some other things too to have it set up to your laptop so you can record. Before this mic, I used to have the Blue Yeti. Around the same price. I got the Blue Yeti at the time for like $100. This one's $149, so it's just $50 more, and it's more advanced. And the other one is just for beginners. So if you want to check that out too. So after you get the microphone and
All right, I'm assuming she's talking about the Blue Yeti, Blue Yeti USB, and again, I don't want to get into the routing thing. I'm always ranting about, but if it's a USB, if it's only USB, then you probably can't use that, at least in real time at low latency settings with other mics. You might be able to do like an amalgamated driver, whatever you call it, on Core Audio on the Mac. On Windows, even then, I probably wouldn't be messing with this. On Windows, you probably, if it has an ASIO driver, you're not going to be able to use something else with an ASIO driver at the same time. So as convenient as those USB things are, I would say if you, unless you're doing very simple stuff and you're never going to mess around with any kind of DSP or anything, I just wouldn't recommend a USB mic. I'd get an interface. And but I've seen people do tons of good stuff on USB mics. I'm just going to tell you that in order to hook up later with more things, like maybe you're going to record your guitar with it or something too, USB mic is going to be a pain in the butt. So I would try and stay away from it if you can.
you've got the cable, you need this little dusty interface.
Okay, so she's now showing, I think, a Focusrite 2i2. It has two fully featured mic line inputs, and I think both of them will also let you use they're also DIs. Carbo's going to take me up on that. He says that interface instrument inputs are not DIs, but to me they perform the same function aside from the splitter. Again, these Focusrites are you can argue, they're, I still say the best drivers out there are RME, and underneath that are Motu, and there's some other companies that come close. And then there's, the next tier down, Focusrite, and pretty much everything that uses the Cycon.de drivers, which is what you're going to find on the Behringers. And no matter how much they hype the stuff, you're also going to see it on the Audience. And if you think they're really bad, they're also the drivers that SSL uses on their USB interface. So she's showing an interface, and this is why I'm saying not to use the USB mic. If it's USB only, you might not be able to plug it into an interface later on. And you know what? Just get an interface. You're probably going to be okay with the Focusrite Solo, though. I don't know if it's going to be much more money. Let me just let me pull this up real quick. So the Solo is $100. Now, you'll see that it doesn't have two full featured channels, but it does have one mic channel and one instrument channel. That might be enough for you. I think it's got probably RCAs on the back, which might... No, it's got 1/4 inches out on the back. Interesting. Regular 1/4 inch headphone. Actually, this is pretty good. Maybe this is the newest one. I swear some of the Solos had RCA outs before, but it looks like these are 1/4 inches as far as I can tell. This is a funny looking, I don't know, something funny looking there, but I think these are 1/4 inches. The Scarlet, let's see, 2i2. And this is assuming, look, if you need more than 2 channels, you're probably more advanced. You don't need to be listening to me right now. But yeah, so it's $50 more for the 2i2. And if you're playing guitar, you might have trouble on the first generation of these things. The second generation has a lot more headroom. And like I say, people may not like these things, but if you check my test page out, I've tested them. They sound pretty good. In an ABX test, most people aren't going to be able to tell the difference between any of these. And, the drivers are okay. They're not RMEs, but they're good. Very handy, very cheap. Anyway, so let's see.
An audio interface, and it looks kind of cute, you know? It's red, my favorite color. And this is the Focusrite Scarlet. I got this for cheap because my friend had it, and he gave this to me for $50. Right now, it is $100. Free ship. If you ask me, that's not too bad because you really need this. It comes with this cable, and it's a USB cable. You see that? And this hooks up to your laptop. Now listen. You need the Focusrite because you cannot plug this end of the microphone, the XLR cable, into your laptop. No? Maybe if I just... No? You can't just...
Normally, I hate this gimmicky kind of stuff, but you know what? This needs to be said over and over and over and over again. So you know what? You go, girl. That is awesome.
Fit it into your laptop to connect to your microphone. Now it makes sense, right? So let's get back to the video. So this end hooks up to your laptop, USB style, and it'll light up and turn on. Your XLR cable that just connected to your microphone plugs into this. It hooks up to the microphone, which hooks up to the Focusrite, which hooks up to your laptop.
Oh, I think the 2035 is a condenser mic. So one of the things that the Solo may not have, oh no, it does. So for condenser mics, you need phantom power, and so you'll see that the Solo, both the Solo and the 2i2 have phantom power. That's what this 48-volt switch is here. If you're using a dynamic mic, you won't need phantom power, but I think pretty much any interface nowadays is going to come with phantom power, so I wouldn't be super worried about that. But it's just something to keep in mind, just in case.
Whatever you record from your microphone will send straight to your laptop. Bam, easy. Are you with me so far? This is a beginner setup. And here you have creative control. You're not limited to a time, and it's less money. And eventually, when you start saving up, you can upgrade your equipment. If this is like not good enough for you, then you can aim for a Shure. It's like a really expensive brand.
And man, I cannot get away from the SM7, right? There's always an SM7. Listen, NPCs and Pound Me 2s, just because you've seen some guy say it in a forum that you need an SM7, you don't need an SM7. Like, if you really want an SM7, go get an SM7. I bet you can't tell me why, aside from you saw Joe Rogan using it or whatever. I think Michael Jackson sang on an SM7 sometimes. I don't know. I know that Phil Ryan from Sacred Reich has. Now, if you really need an SM7, you need an SM7. If you know why you want an SM7, don't let me stop you from getting it. But just because you see somebody say in a forum, SM7B, they always put the B on the end, as if there's some other SM7 you can buy. You know you're talking to an NPC. Go ahead. If you, hopefully she's going to show, if she is pushing this SM7, one of the things that you're probably going to end up having to buy for it, because these are extremely low gain mics. If you have to have an SM7, fine, but I don't know. I wouldn't call that an upgrade necessarily. And I'm speaking through an SM7 right now, and like I said in the earlier video, I'm using it for speaking so that I don't waste a mic that I really need on my voice. So here you go.
This is where you plug in your headphones so you can listen to the feedback while it's recording on your laptop. So Zane, what else do I need, huh? The link that I sent you on my site. If you click on the Focusrite on Amazon, the product that I linked has this bundled with this.
Ah.
This is a pop filter. You see the difference? This prevents the...
I don't know if that was a good demonstration of it, but That is cool. That's a cool bundle. I'm hoping she has an affiliate link for that Amazon thing, so she gets a little bit of money when you buy this stuff, because she did take the time to put out this video and stuff. And so, if you really do want to get this bundle, please click through her link so she gets. Not that I'm being paid for this by this person, but just because people do adpocalypse and demonetization and stuff, and I'm not sure that she's subject to that. I would guess she's not, actually, but still yet. She's done you a favor by putting this junk together, so click through her affiliate link if you decide to buy this stuff.
This is a pop filter. You see the difference? This
Nah.
the sounds from being so aggressive.
Yeah, pop filter, it's really looking for plosives. Like right now I'm not using a pop filter, but I do have the little windscreen on this SM7. I don't know if it's doing much when I say B and P, but pop filters really help with that. Yeah, I can't even say pop filter without it making trouble. So there you go.
On the mic, so it's not. So this is a spit guard, pretty much. That's really helpful, and it's cool because you feel like a professional. It smells good. Okay. I also linked another kind of spit guard which goes around the mic, and it looks like that. And honestly, I might get that because that looks much easier to connect everything.
Now I think Vern's using pop filters like that. That looks really handy. I think if you watch some of his shows, you'll see that. Vern Grainer, the most famous audio engineer in the world, apparently.
Because here, you gotta connect it to the mic stand. This comes with the interface, so...
So one more thing with these kind of clip-on pop filters or clamp-on, you'll notice that if you really look at it, let me see. I have no idea if I can get it to. Yeah, I doubt I'm going to be able to. The part that screws onto the mic stand itself, it's usually really weak, and it ends up bending, and they don't end up sticking on there very good after a while. So you end up having to stick it on top of another mic stand or something. Pop filters drive me nuts. Let me just put it that way.
I don't know what this is called.
So that's a shock mount. Right now, like if you buy an SM7, chances are you're going to have a hard mount like I do. And so when I touch the desk, that's probably going to bounce through and make some noise. These things she's showing a shock mount right now. They have a little bit less carry through from the floor or whatever they're attached to. Anyway, maybe she'll say shock mount. So if you buy the 2020, it's not going to have that shock mount. I think it had a hard mount when we looked at it a second ago. Let's see. So 2020. Yeah, 2020 looks like it's on this hard thing. This pack right here looks pretty good. $200. Your headphones, one of the clampy things. This is like what I'm using right now to hold my SM7B on right now. So there you go. Anyway.
What does this do, Zane? This shock mount prevents like some sort of shakiness from the mic because it's like a bounce house for the mic. How else are you gonna hold the mic, guys? Because it's not the type of mic where you can put it through like that. No, it's gonna fall off. What I like to do to make myself look more cool, I have it hanging upside down. And don't worry, because this thing is really stable, so it's gonna hold it, and you just like more professional. The last and kind of the most important thing, a mic stand. Because how else are you gonna hold your mic? It's gonna be annoying trying to hold it like this. It's not gonna happen. You put the mic through here. Now this mic stand goes for $24. Okay, so I just looked at it. This mic, it comes with the shock mount. So my bad. You don't have to buy that separately. So what we're looking at right now, $149 for the microphone, for the shock mount, and for this XLR cable. The Focusrite, which comes with the pop filter, is $99, and the mic stand for $25.
So I'm not sure what kind of stand she's using right here. I think that link that she had. Let's see, best studio headphone, basic mic stand. Here we go. Now this might not be a. Oh, so she's using a full size mic stand right here. I was thinking, which is good. These are more handy for stuff. These are much more useful. But I was thinking she was talking about something like these table, you know, for most of you guys doing broadcasting kind of stuff, these kind of things are probably gonna be better for you. Newer, whatever. What am I got? I've got one of these right now. It's not very strong. It's not really good for holding up the SM7B very well, but it's still these are good for most things. It'll definitely hold up that 2020 or the 2035.
You have a whooping that much. I already know that it's pretty decent for the setup, and you can record it at home. This is cool, and you can like bend it like that. Oh my gosh! Like I could start my podcast soon.
Obviously, make sure you're singing in or talking into the business end of the mic. These cheaper condenser mics like this, or you know, not because they're cheap, but in particular these mics. These are single pattern mics. They're almost always going to be cardioid mics. If you want to know, we could talk about polar patterns and directionality and stuff like that one of these days. But basically, the mic has a certain pickup pattern where it's going to pick up better from the business end up in the front than it will in the back. And so you got to know what the front and back is. I'm not sure. Hopefully she'll say that.
So as you can see, I have it hooked up. I use GarageBand, so if you want advanced, use Logic, and it's pretty easy.
All right. Of course, I can't let that go by, right? First of all, please don't use GarageBand. Go ahead and sue me, Apple. I spend way too much time trying to get stuff exported out of GarageBand when people bring their projects in on that, when they want to export the MIDI or whatever. It's a pain. You know, if you're running on a real laptop or on a desktop, of course I'm going to be a little bit partial to Reaper. And when she says if it's more advanced, use Logic. Okay, we have a lot of Logic customers, and I love you guys. But coming from a position of tech support, the roadblocks and stumbling blocks and problems that Logic throws in the way of people getting their work done, it's almost mind-blowing to me. I don't think Logic used to do this back in the day, but now that they're owned by Apple, there's like a lot of gatekeeping and kind of crazy stuff. So if you're just starting out and you don't have a reason for using Logic, because there are sequencists and stuff who I'm not going to argue with at all. They use Logic and they use it for very specific reasons. But if you're not one of those guys and you're just starting out, please use anything. Maybe not anything else, but please use something else. I'd recommend Reaper, of course, because I had a hand in that. And not that I'm getting paid out of it. But just that when you're talking about a responsive developer who's going to fix whatever problems you end up with, that's Reaper. No gatekeeping, no weirdness. It's always going to work, or it should. And if not, there's a huge community behind it to support. But oh man, Logic is a pain. Please just don't use GarageBand no matter what you do. But Logic, maybe if you have to, but I would really prefer you didn't. But we still love you, Logic users.
Record, because when you hook up everything, all you gotta do is go to preferences. You gotta make sure that the inputs and outputs are with the Scarlett 2i2.
And man, I just had to go through this yesterday with somebody. I know there's a lot of advantages to using a Mac, but man, I hate the audio MIDI device setup thing. You just, you know, I'm so used to ASIO control panels or whatever, and I know that there's limitations with that, but they sure are easier to tell exactly what's going to happen. Like, how do I tell how many channels and
Which is from the interface, because the interface is connected to your microphone. So bam. I get so insecure.
See, I wonder what's recording. Is she recording her is it the laptop mic that's recording right now, or is she singing into the wrong end of the microphone? Or I mean, because we could be listening to like a room mic that she normally talks through and stuff. I don't imagine that she was recording this whole thing through that mic, so I'm not sure what we're hearing right here.
thumbs up, but wait, we're not done started. Now here are a few options. As you can see in the video. Now if you want to be more advanced, it's an isolation booth. And pretty much when you have it around the microphone, you get better feedback. Before, I was putting like a blank.
I don't know if I would say better feedback. You might get less feedback if feedback's actually happening. Reflection wise, this is going to help a little bit. You know, there's also the rest of the room that's kind of behind your head and it's going to bounce back through the microphone. But for the first reflections that come back, I'm up and down with these things. In fact, I have one sitting right here right now. So maybe I'll, let's see. If I were to put it behind the mic, check, 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 check. I don't know if this makes any difference. Now it's out of the way. Check, 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 check. And here it is again. In this case, I don't know if, you know, for the SM7, I have no idea how I would put this on for my talking setup. But, you know, that I keep seeing those. I always have them sitting around. So maybe they're good. Maybe they're not. I don't know.
Blanket over my head and the microphone so that, you know, the sound doesn't echo out.
You know, the blanket over your head and the microphone is not so bad. I hear lots of people do good recordings like that, you know, believe it or not. Yeah, it's... I know we want to laugh at this, but this actually works pretty good. It's not going to stop the bass frequencies, but the highs is not bad.
So I invested in this, which is like $80, and it's optional. I do suggest that if you don't soundproof your room, it just looks cool.
Okay. Let's not get into the soundproof thing. What does soundproof mean? Are usually when people say that, they mean the isolation. So stop your sound from getting out and bothering your neighbors, and stop the neighbor's sound from getting in and bothering you. That acoustic treatment like this is this particular little reflector thing, you know, given the thickness of it and everything, it's really meant to stop early reflections from coming back into the mic at high frequencies or high mids even. I guess you could measure that thing and see what wavelength it goes down to or whatever to, you know, trap it or whatever. But it's not really, it's not doing isolation. Well, it kind of is a little tiny bit of isolation, but really it's for dealing with reflections. So not so much soundproofing as high end absorbers, you know, high frequency absorbers, not high end.
Look at that. I have two mic stands here. The first mic stand is usually just for these kinds of mics where it's like karaoke and stuff. But this mic I use for this isolation booth because it's more thick and it could support. That's why you see that rope right here, because it's so heavy at the top it'll bend forward like that. I don't want that to happen.
You know, this I like the DIY ethic right here. You know, putting the rope on there to keep it together. Good. You're not just weaning out and buying some $5 billion thing that is supposed to make it better, and when you could just go get some rope and tie it together. Good job. Okay, I think she's joking. Yeah, don't just turn it forward or backward. Make sure you're singing into the correct end of the mic.
Setup number one. So this is why I have two microphone stands, because one is holding the isolation booth and I want it to sound like a studio quality. Now this microphone stand, it's here so that if I want to record a podcast or narrate something on my channel, I'll just take this off and then I'll put it on here. Eventually, you're going to need some instrumentals if you want to make your own music, like piano or guitar. You can easily plug in your guitar into this hole and have it record on here.
So remember, if you plug your guitar into the 1/4 inch input on that particular Focusrite 2i2, make sure you switch the switch on that side to instrument input. Otherwise, I think it's a line input. So make sure you switch it.
You can also connect this little device. It's kind of dusty. I haven't used this in a while, but it's like a little keyboard, a MIDI keyboard, which connects USB style to your laptop, so you can record.
Now, I don't know if this Akai thing she's showing has any onboard sounds that go through the USB. I'm assuming that it probably has like some VSTI plugins or whatever, and that it records MIDI itself, so that you can always change the sounds later on. And some idiot could tell you exactly what the difference is between recording audio and MIDI. To me, it's just MIDI actually records the performance. It tells you what key did you hit, how long did you hold it, how hard did you hit it, when did you let go, that kind of information, plus some controller information as well, instead of the sound itself. So you could always, you could record the MIDI using like a trumpet sound or whatever, and later on decide that you wanted a flute to come out or something. So MIDI's cool.
Your pop filter up top right here, tighten it up and bend it down so that it covers your microphone however you want it. And yeah, it seems short right now, and if you want to stand up, you can adjust the mic stand. With this setup right here, I forgot to mention, connecting to your Focusrite, I have another headphone port. I connect with my headphones. It's still pretty good for wireless headphones. It's noise canceling too, so
I don't know how those wireless. She's plugging a wire into it. I'm not really sure what's going on here. Listen, don't use wireless headphones. As far as I know, the latency on wireless headphones is insane. I'm not talking about wireless in-ear monitors or whatever when you're talking about professional stuff, but in general, the Bluetooth or whatever headphones that I've seen have like a lot, like maybe 40 milliseconds of latency on them. We could talk about why that's important later, I guess. But chances are that the people who wanted me to go through this video and review it for them are probably not actually going to see this because I screwed it up so bad. So I guess if you're actually watching this, you probably know what latency is.
do is I connect this to my Focusrite. I can hear all the audio that's going into my mic with my headphones because of this interface. And it's
Okay, now there's getting into monitoring. Holy crap. That particular interface probably has a, in fact, let's just check. Focusrite 2i2. It probably has a knob on it or a switch that will let you, oh wow, good job. Man, Reverb, you suck. So I'm looking, I'm assuming, yeah, see here, right here. This button right here, direct monitor on or off. That is probably, it used to have this on a knob, I think, so you could switch. So this is telling you whether or not the inputs of your microphone, or maybe there's some mixer software inside there too, I'm not sure. But it would send the input right out to the outputs, to your headphones or monitor outputs. And I am not going to get into a latency purist battle right now, but I would say that you should probably monitor through your software rather than through your hardware. And so I would turn that thing off. Monitoring is a deep subject. I mean, this is all stuff we could really get into later on. You guys really want to get on to it in another video, and I'll probably do like a live stream Q&A if I can figure out how in the world to do that. So.
I would turn off the fan if I was like seriously recording, but it's hot in here. You and me, let's stay tuned. Yeah, my voice is hoarse, but this is a cool setup. Alright buddies, that's it. I hope this video helped. Remember, you can always check out the equipment on zanerima.com/studio, so then you can get some advice. And you can also see the prices, which is listed right now. Sometimes they're on sale. Thank you for understanding that I needed to take a break. I want to get into it. Thank you guys so much for being so supportive. You can follow me on my Instagram, my Snapchat, Twitter. Please subscribe and get this a thumbs up if this video helped you. And share with your friends who want to.
Let's give her a thumbs up.
Be AmaZane of. Wait. I'm missing something.
Okay, well, I mean, seems to me like that's a decent enough intro into that stuff, I guess. There's a lot more to it. I guess we could talk about that, and I guess we will later. But that's my first attempt at doing one of these things, so we'll see how this goes.